There are so many different people and so many different types of thoughts that some people want to get their point across and they're not worried if it hurts somebody's feelings. They just want to be understood. And I get that. Everyone wants to be understood. Everyone wants the feeling that what they said everybody understood 100% completely the way they meant it. But that rarely, if ever, happens. Everyone is going to understand you the way they understand things. What you say is going to have a different meaning to one person than it is to another. Take a dog, for example. I look at the dog sitting there and I think, the dog is curious. He's sniffing up in the air. He's wondering who I am. He's trying to judge whether or not I'm a good person. Or I look at him like he wants to be pet. Look at that cute thing. But the person next to me looks at the same dog, making the same face, and they say, that dog wants to bite me or bark at me. And it's funny because I don't know what's right. Was the dog trying to bark or was he just curious as to who we are? The reason I'm saying this is because the dog is just like a person. What is that person is thinking? I think that person is thinking that I'm an idiot. And really, he could be thinking something else about me or somebody or something else completely. That person could be looking at somebody behind me or could be thinking about something that they remembered from a long time ago. They're just daydreaming or whatever, and I'm thinking they're judging me when in reality they're not even thinking about me. So yeah, communication is hard. You don't know what somebody else is thinking, but you can't just stop communication. You have to get that point across, whatever point you're trying to make. Like, I want you to sell more stuff, or you're not treating your customers good enough, or your employees are getting away with too much, etc. Whatever it is, and you say something straightforward, just like what I said, and your employees are getting away with too much. Okay, how can that be taken? First of all, the person you're talking to could get defensive. My employees are getting away with too much stuff? Are you saying I'm stupid and that I'm not paying enough attention to what my employees are doing? You don't even know. You're not even here. How can you judge me and tell me what my employees are doing? Or they can take it as, we work hard, we got our numbers, everything is cool. Why do you have to be so hard on us? Why can't they have fun and goof off sometimes? Work should be fun. That's how you get through the day. How am I expected to get through the day if I have to be miserable all day? I'm supposed to be a bitch to everybody. Is that what you want? Is that what you expect? We here are just fine and doing our job quite well without your interference. Go back to your corporate office and leave us alone. We are getting the job done. Everything is good here. Stop worrying about what we are doing. So it just seems to me like saying that even though it seems straightforward, all you're saying is that you see the employees goofing off and not answering the phone when they should, and you're saying something about it. You're saying your employees should be paying more attention to the job they are being paid to do. This is not their free time, this is work time, and the company is paying for them to be here, and they need to be doing their job. So you say it that way. What if I said it exactly that way? Then the store manager will think, why are you jumping down my throat? You know, it seems like every single day, every single way you could say something, if you say it quiet and politely, then they're not going to take you serious, and they're not going to hear you or notice that you said anything. If you say it matter-of-factly, they're going to think you're jumping down their throat. So yeah, communication is hard. So when you say you want to be able to be understood and you don't care if it hurts their feelings, well, you do care if it hurts their feelings, because as soon as you hurt somebody's feelings, they're going to become defensive and they're going to turn inward to me. You're hurting my feelings, so you're a bitch or a dick or whatever. And they say, and they're not going to listen to what you say. It's going to interfere with your ability to communicate. So even if you don't care about hurting their feelings, you just want to get your point across, you can't get your point across if you hurt their feelings. That's what I believe anyway. I don't know if that's true. Maybe that's why I don't really communicate that well, because I'm an introvert. I don't say a lot, but what I do say maybe is good enough. I don't know. I spoke earlier about the meaning of life and how to figure it all out, and it seems I came so close, but really I didn't really just get as far away as I was before, because there's no way of figuring it out. There is no way of knowing that this is the answer. Like, say, you figure out a mathematical formula, you work on it, you come up with a theorem, you add it all up, and it comes out right. You check your work, and you come up with the same answer again. So you ask your friend to check it, and they come up with the same answer. So you take it to the professor and have them check it out. And if they come up with the same answer, then you decide it's true, and you take it to be a rut. And if they come up with the same answer, then you decide it's true, and you take it to be right. Well, the meaning of life can't be checked. You can come up with this great theory, but then how do you check it? You ask your friend to come up with the same thing. There's so many paths and so many avenues of thought, but who knows? Maybe it can be checked. You can go down a path. You can lead somebody so far and say, okay, now you're on your own. I want you to continue with your thoughts and see if you come up to the same conclusion as I did. I give it to you this far, but am I not going to point the whole path? But I'm not going to point the whole path, because then you would just be following my thought pattern, and I want to know if you can come up with the same idea by following your own thought pattern. So let's see. I don't remember everything that I said before about the meaning of life, so if I think about it again, fresh and new, see if I come up with the same end concept. Okay, so the meaning of life. Right now I see a road stretching out before me, and it just continues to stretch out as I ride. It goes on, and I look as far as I can. I see things moving up there, but I can't figure out why they are. But I continue to ride, and in the foreground I see the sides of the road stretching, following, guiding me, a gentle push to keep me on my path. And why are we here? Why is life here? Why is there grass, and why are there trees? And why are they cats, or you, or me? Why is there ground full of living dirt, bacteria, germs, things that can hurt? Stickers and viruses, bacteria and bees, fungus and flowers and vines and weeds, birds and chipmunks, apples and pears, seeds that grow and grizzly bears. Why there's life, and why is there death, and why is life a part of it? The old earth turns, this rock is barren, if not for the life living here on her. The things that grow are dependent on heat and cool water and air to breathe, but life creates what it needs. The trees make air for us to breathe. Does the water need life? I don't believe so. Water is made by the combination of hydrogen and oxygen. That's what we're taught in school. How does it combine? Where does oxygen come from? Where does hydrogen come from? Are these gases that have been here since before life? I believe so. What are rocks made of? They're made of different elements, so water. And if oxygen, where did oxygen come from? You have to have oxygen to make water, and if water was here before life began, then life doesn't make all the oxygen. So when we say we rely on the trees, I don't know if we really do. The trees make oxygen, and the algae that lives in the ocean makes oxygen, but oxygen had to have been here before because water was here. Why am I in this surreal world, and why can't I get out? I'm listening. Tell me, why is life here? Why is this planet covered with life? Is it just a coincidence? Is it just something that happened? Why do we have thoughts, and why do I even care? Why do I want to answer these questions? Where will it get me? I don't know. I don't think it will get me anywhere different than where I am right now. But maybe it will, I don't know. The crickets sing their songs and frogs sing their songs, and there's no reason for any of it, just as I'm writing this now. There's no reason for it except the strong desire to do it, the urge to do it. Why do I have a desire? We think the frogs sing and croak to find a mate, to reproduce, or to make more frogs. We don't know this for a fact. We just think it because it makes sense, but they might care less about. They're just doing it, and if someone else comes up and likes the song and wants to mate with them because of it, well, that's just a good byproduct of what they were impelled to do. What is it called? Thumos? Medea was impelled to kill her children because of her cheating husband. So am I impelled to ponder the meaning of life, and what will it give me? I don't know. I don't care. I am doing it to find out the answer. And will I ever discover it? Maybe I will, and that is what drives me to continue. Because that feeling of accomplishment, maybe I could discover it. Maybe I could be the one to find the true meaning of life. So what will I get out of it? Fame and fortune and everything that goes with it? I think not. I don't believe I will get anything like that out of it. I don't think people will even know my name. So we have discovered the meaning of life. It's 23. Oh, who came up with that? I don't know. Who cares? It was easy. Everyone already knew this deep inside anyway, so no big deal. Go on with your life and go on with your death and go on with the in-between things that you do each day between life and death. So yeah, there's no need for it. What did people do before electricity? I don't know, but those were the dark ages. What did people do before they knew the meaning of life? Oh, I don't know. I think they always knew the meaning of life. And there's something awesome going on behind them while they're talking, because I figured it out 1,000 years earlier, and now society has internet because of the discovery of electricity, and something as awesome is happening in the future because Betty discovered the meaning of life. Just as Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity, just as Thomas Edison and all his work, Ben Franklin, all his work, Nikola Tesla, all these people, Leonardo da Vinci, they came along and they thought and they worked and they discovered something tangible, something people could use for something, and it made the world change. It altered the way of reality. It brought things into existence that wouldn't be in existence otherwise. So what would discovering the meaning of life do? I worry because if someone knew the meaning of life and it wasn't anything great, maybe it will cause death to all. Maybe it will cause life to vanish because it won't be anything of importance. Because if you have something and plenty of it, you don't care about it, you abuse it. I see humans have done so much, but I don't see any use for anything except what the humans use it for. Why is there internet? Why is there electricity? Why are there roads and bridges? Why is there all the things that humans made? They are here to help humans. Do they help anybody else? Well, they make bridges and tunnels so animals can cross the roads without getting hit by cars. Yeah, that helps the animals, but if cars weren't there in the first place, if humans weren't there, then the animals would be all over doing the things and not worrying about getting hit by a car and not being displaced from their natural habitat because a neighborhood came up where they used to live, or the humans cut down all their trees where their food source came from, and now there is no food source, it's no longer available, and the animal becomes extinct. The ivory-billed woodpecker. Those are negative things humans have brought to the world, negative impacts that humans have made on Earth. What positive impacts have humans made on the Earth? I can't think of any. I can only think of things that are positively impacting humans. The bridges and the roads and the boats and the airplanes helping us get from one place to the other. helping us learn new things through the spread of knowledge through the internet system and the telephone lines, and helping us to see and do things through technology. But that's only to help us, to help humans. And so that does not matter. That negates it. It doesn't help anything else. So why are we here? What good do we do? What I come up with is our energy. Energy that everybody has, and the trees have, and the grass has, and that energy that causes it to grow. That life force that lives, that exists, that makes its home inside of every living thing. What is that life force, and why does it exist? It has to exist, or there wouldn't be life. There wouldn't be life without that life force, without the heart pumping or the sap flowing through some unknown way. How does the heart continue to beat? Through some electrical currents caused by the brain? How does the brain make those electrical currents? Well, however it does, humans, I'm sure, have figured it out somehow, and they can tell you some kind of answer that has to do with electric currents, and that humans made themselves almost like perpetual motion machine, and it's all dependent on its internal stuff, except for the power that comes from outside, is what the power is, and that power is food, water, and air. Those are the things that power our body and keep us alive, and food comes from other life sources, so one life is dependent on another, and that goes for all life forces, all life types. Like trees and plants and chipmunks and birds, they all are dependent on some kind of food, and all this food comes from living organisms. Then there is water. They're all dependent on water, and as we have established before, water is not made by a living organism because water was here before life. So oxygen is not dependent on a living organism because oxygen had to have been here before in order to make water. So air and water as two things that we have to have, and they are the things we have to have the most of, the most frequently. We take a breath every few seconds. A person can hold their breath for only a few minutes. They need oxygen constantly to live. If they didn't have oxygen, they would die instantly. So oxygen is stored in a body for a minute or two, or the longest a person held their breath was like 4 minutes or something. That's how long oxygen is stored in the body. But it's being constantly used, and that's why you can only hold your breath for a certain amount of time, because once that oxygen is done, then you need more or you'll die. So you constantly need oxygen. Now what else? Water. You can go only a couple days without water, then you die. Your body dehydrates, your organs shut down, and you die. So those are two things that you need that are not made by other life: oxygen and water. Then there's food. You need food, but you can go a long time without food. You won't starve to death, for depending on what your body has in stores already, you can go for a week or a month. No more than that, but you can go a little bit of time without food. So what does that tell us? That tells us that human life, let me think about that for a minute. Okay, so a plant, if I took the oxygen, how long would a plant live without oxygen? I think it would die pretty quickly. If I covered up a plant and sucked the oxygen out of the container, the plant would just shrivel up. I'm not sure if we gave it air, if it would come back to life or not. I'm not sure. Maybe I need to do an experiment to make sure. But then, like without water, I go away for 3 days. My plant sits outside in the sun, and when I get back, it's dead. It didn't get water for 3 days, and it died. Some plants can go a little bit longer if they're in the shade or something like that, not drying out so fast. But as soon as they're out of water, they're out of life, and plants make their own food, so they don't really need, they need some kind of nutrients from the soil, and I believe that's the food. That's like decaying matter in the soil. The compost is what makes the food for the plant, and so it seems some plants could live off just water. I don't know how long. I don't think forever. I don't think a plant could live in a bowl of water with no fertilizer, no nutrients, nothing like that added to it for very long. And so if plants and humans, I put that as all life, there's only plant and animal, and What works or doesn't work for humans works for all types of animals. If you took water or oxygen or food away from a platypus, it would die. If you took the oxygen away from a fish, it would die, because it takes the oxygen out of the water with its gills, so it lives off oxygen as well. So fish, cold-blooded and warm-blooded, they all need oxygen, they all need food, they all need water. Two of these things come from non-life means, water and oxygen. One of the things comes from other life, so it's like a triangle, oxygen, water, and food. But water is made out of oxygen, and oxygen is in all three of the elements needed to support life. Why do we exist? So I'm looking at what we need to exist, and I can use that as some kind of key or puzzle piece to figure out why we exist. We got the why we exist. No, wait, we don't have the why. We have the how we exist. How we survive, and that the earth creates two of the three elements. Well, it creates all the elements because without one we wouldn't have the other. Without one and two we wouldn't have three, and we need one and two and three in order to survive. Why does the earth create the things we need to survive? But it wasn't the earth that created them. It was something outside of the earth that created them. Something created the earth, something created water, something created air. What was that? And what was this something that created the stuff? And why? So they went to other planets. Well, they didn't go to other planets, but they sent some kind of laser beam that could tell what was on each of the planets, and each of the planets are made up of different chemicals, different mixtures, almost like a bunch of petri dishes with different elements in them to test to see what they are doing. If I mix these chemicals in this other petri dish, what happens? And this third petri dish from the light is growing life, and something that lives and moves around, and it isn't animated by anything except itself. It produces this life force inside of it. It makes it grow, and it reproduces, and it uses these chemicals that I put in. But look, some of this chemical called oxygen that I put in here mixes with these other chemicals, hydrogen. I put in here and create something else called water. And this oxygen and this water together create something, some kind of plant matter and some kind of animal matter, and they rely on to survive. So think about that from the beginning. So there's oxygen, there's hydrogen, nothing else. And some of the oxygen mixed with the hydrogen to form water. Now there is something else. There's hydrogen, there's oxygen, and there's water. Okay, where did the food come from? How did it grow? So we all know plants live off of, we see bean sprouts grow. We don't put any food in the water. We just give them water and oxygen and sunlight. Well, actually, we don't even give them sunlight until they grow a little. So life can be formed. Well, I don't know how long a bean sprout will grow, but they end up dying after a little while if we don't put them in the soil. But they'll grow for a little while, and that little while is all they need. So they grow for a time, then they die. They turn into a mat of dead plant matter, and they'll make a haven for bacteria. And if you leave it in the water, leave it in the oxygen, that dead plant matter will grow bacteria. Other things will grow in it, maybe fungus. So will that produce something else? Well, you could say a cow will come by and eat it, or a human will come by and eat it, but no, because no cows and humans exist, because there's no other source of food. There's air, there's water, there's no food on the planet except for this little jar of bean sprouts that are rotting there. Are bacteria growing in them? Well, where did the seeds to the bean sprouts come from? Where did the seeds to the bean sprouts come from? That's a good question. How did the bean sprout seed appear? Well, what is a seed? It's a little hard capsule, a little piece of DNA, RNA, encapsulated in some kind of organic shell. So where did this RNA come from? Ribonucleic acid. So I see by the name it's some kind of acid. Nucleic. It has some kind of nuclei. Nuclear explosion. Something nuclear. So what is that chemical they use in nuclear bombs? Uranium? So there's an element called uranium that makes a nuclear reaction. Okay, so ribonucleic acid. Ribosomes? are like hard structures, like in a plant, the ribosomes, I believe, what gives it a shell. So let me see. So some kind of acid with nuclei in it, that is what we need. RNA creates life. So where do we get RNA from? Uranium? So, it would be so much easier to figure out this if I were a chemist. But sure, you could tell me I'm not. By the way, I'm floundering through this or trying to figure this out. So, oh my goodness, what a happy coincidence. Some nucleic acid just popped up out of the blue, mixed together somehow because these elements existed. Just like how oxygen and hydrogen got together to create water, these other chemicals got together and created RNA. It is easy and simple as that. So RNA goes and lives with the hydrogen and the oxygen, the water and the oxygen, and creates life because it creates a seed, and that seed grows into a plant. That plant bacteria appear magically. And no, not magically. The bacteria appeared the same way the seed appeared. It's all different strands of RNA created by different molecules mixing together from different elements. These elements are mixed together to form strands of RNA and DNA, which then in turn create life, and they create birds and elephants and aardvarks and pistachios, and they live happily ever after. And the meaning of life is just as the meaning of existence. It's just a happy coincidence. All right, did you get that? So that was totally different than my first theory. It's energy that the Earth needs, or is it a happy coincidence? Well, let's try it again. Do we have time for one more? 2 out of 3. What's the meaning of life? So, I'm opening my bag. It's made of cotton. Cotton is a plant that grows. Humans found some seeds growing in the woods where they were walking 1,000 years ago. They came across these plants with fluffy white heads. They picked them off and they said, these are interesting. They seem to have some kind of strength to them. These little balls of fluff don't really fall apart too easily like dandelion fluff. I wonder if I could do something with these. Oh, look, there's the little hard things in them. Just throw these seeds, throw these out. I don't need these. All I need is the soft stuff. Then later, they were walking the same path and saw more cotton growing. Look, something's growing. They must have been seeds. These little hard things I pulled out and threw down must have been the seeds, all right. So now we got some soft, fluffy stuff and a way to make more. All you have to do is take the hard things out of the fluffy stuff and put them in the ground, and you get enough fluffy stuff and you could have a place to sleep better than anyone else on the planet. I'm growing me some fluffy stuff. I'm growing me some fluffy stuff too. We are all growing fluffy stuff. Look, I can take this fluffy stuff and I can pull it into pieces and make long threads out of it. I can take these long threads and I can weave them together and I can make something comfortable to keep me warm. Be careful, don't get those threads caught on anything. Don't get those threads caught on anything. There's a lot nicer than those leaves we've been wearing. So, what is the meaning of life? Take 3. We'll start at the sun. The sun is a giant nuclear explosion. How was it formed? We don't know. We have as much idea of how it was formed as we have ideas about what the meaning of life is. So we're not trying to find out how the sun was formed right now. We're trying to find out the meaning of life. So we're just going to take for granted that the sun was always there. So the sun has a bunch of different chemicals on it, a bunch of electrons and protons. It has all the different chemicals, all the elements with the uranium and the unobtainium, the Mississippium and the Louisianium and the Einsteinium. All right, so it's got all these different elements that people invented names to when they discovered them. These elements are different combinations of nuclei, electrons and protons. So these different combinations of electrons and protons. Electrons make different elements, and these elements act different ways. Some of them are gases and some of them are metals. Some of them are salt. Salt is a metal. Together they create different things. By themselves they are elements and make things like gold, uranium, titanium, silver. All these things are made in elements. So hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, silicon, these are all elements. So there's also ingredients to life. So this atomic explosion happened and it's burning, and all these different elements being created and boiled up in the sun, and they are being spewed out all over the solar system and when perhaps big chunks of the sun broke off and formed the planets. The gravity from the sun keeps them a certain distance from its center, depending on how big of a chunk of what it is. A chunk made out of, so far, 9 chunks have broken off, fallen maybe more. Maybe the moons are chunks of the sun too. So they fall off, flow out, started spinning, and when they found their place in the solar system where the gravitational pull was right for them, they started spinning around. Okay, so now there are different planets out there, and they're made of different things, and they have different elements attached to them. Things that were on the sun that broke off with it, and the sun kept spewing things out all the time, landing on each of the planets, especially the closer ones. They get more of it, so third planet out. The Earth is getting dust from the sun every day. There's apparently was hydrogen and oxygen on this chunk, and when it was found its gravitational pull and it started spinning and formed the Earth and it cooled down. We all know water and volcanoes formed the crust, yada yada yada. So now then the DNA starts to form all these different plants and animals. But is there anything special about us? We want there to be something special about us. We want to feel special, and the reason we're searching for the meaning of life is because we want a reason to be here. We want to say humans, especially, even though life is more than humans, trees and cockroaches. So the meaning of life. Why are we here? Why are we special? Tell me I'm special. Tell me all the good things about me. Nothing special. You're just a dumb piece of rock that came to life here on this planet. Yeah, so you came from space, from the sun, haha, whatever. So no, the meaning, just life. So now we've got to go to counseling because all you poor souls out there that just now learned that you're meaningless, that your life is for nothing, that you're just some little blob of energy that floats around and walks around and whines about working and wishes they had a better house and wishing they had all this better great stuff. Be thankful, sir, ma'am. Be thankful that you are given the opportunity to please yourself. You don't have any strings attached to you. There's nothing you have to be good or bad for. No devil you have to go, so you don't have to go to the principal's office. You've been bad and you're going to get a spanking. You're going to hell. No, you're not going to burn in hell. There's no hell except for what you make for yourself here on earth while you're alive. So make it heaven, because this is the only heaven you're going to get. Enjoy each day and live each day to its fullest. You only have a certain amount of days here on earth. You are going to die one day, eating too much or wrecking your car or being stomped on by a herd of zebras. Who knows if an osprey is going to drop a turtle on your head? Who knows if the earth is going to open up and swallow you in? Who knows if you're going to choke to death on your birthday cake? Live each day and be happy and love those around you. Help those around you, and that's all. No counseling needed. The end.